Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 337, live from, I'll just be honest, one of my favorite places in the entire world. The World Series of Poker Event Center. We're at Horseshoe Resort and Casino, which is connected to the Paris Casino, which is in Las Vegas, one of the 5 greatest cities in the world. Now, you might say, Nick, sounds like you crushed in your poker tournaments yesterday. You're in such a good mood. That's actually the opposite of what happened. Nobody likes a bad beat story, so I won't tell them, but I got to tell you, listen, if, they got a bad beat me to beat me. It's just what happens. It's just what happens. But despite all that, DeMonze, I got to tell you, I've been in Vegas for 36 hours, and it feels like 72, but in a great way, in the greatest way. I had been here, and listen, game 1 of the finals is tonight. We will get to that. You guys haven't heard my thoughts on the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau, so we're going to get to all of that just momentarily, but I just want to set the scene for what we're doing. And by the way, if you guys can't see, we are in the Thunderdome is what they call it. This is where I am doing this show from is the table that I envisioned that I would have been playing on yesterday, going for a bracelet in the 10K Dealer's Choice. Unfortunately, I did not last that long in that tournament. And in order to be able to play at this table, you need to advance further in the tournaments than I have yet advanced. But again, it's only been one day. Despite all of that, it's been amazing because, and I'm not going to do too much poker stuff because I know some listeners don't care, but anyone who has seen Rounders knows who Johnny Effin Chan is. The world's back-to-back World Series of Poker main event champion, legend, the guy that Matt Damon just had to go play at the Mirage and I think 400, 800 or whatever it was, limit poker and put a bluff on him. Within 10 minutes of being in Las Vegas after landing around midnight Tuesday night, I was in a game where sitting on my left was Johnny Effing Chan. I mean, it's just the greatest. I mean, I got to say, the single greatest, maybe the single most gratifying part about whatever little bit of fame or notoriety I have is that I get to play in all these card games. Now, maybe the people in the card games are like, the single best thing about Nick Wright making some money is that he plays in our card games. I don't know. I don't know what they think. I just know it is an absolute dream. So we will get to more of that at the tail end of the show, but the finals start tonight. We're not going to be on TV because the Euro Soccer Championship is knocking us off TV. So I'm here and we will get to that, but first, we have to do what we always do, what missed the cut. Miles Turner, a man after my heart, wants a Lego Larry O'Brien trophy. Oh, my goodness. DeMonte, did you know that I bought the car I have, they make a Lego version of it. And so I bought it and built it and showed that to Wilds. And he said someone had gotten his kids like 5,000 piece Lego version of the car they have, but no one in their house wants to build it. So I had him bring it to work, and I'm just building it for him. I'm building the car for him to then give to him. Jack Caglione goes 0 for 5 in his Royals debut, and people were like, oh, Nick, he went 0 for 5. Royals scored 10 runs just because of the threat of Jeffrey Allen Caglione in the lineup. And I guess Shiloh Sanders used a sword in an Oklahoma drill. I'll be honest. I am not that interested in any of the Shiloh Sanders content, but there's a cool video. All right, DeMonze, let's get to what was the shocking news of Tuesday afternoon, a few hours after the pod, and that's what the New York Knicks did.
Yeah, so after 2 games away from the NBA Finals, the New York Knicks have fired Tibbs. We talked on Tuesday. Yeah. You seem to think that his job was pretty secure. Myself as well. I couldn't see them firing Tibbs, but here we are. They fired him. Yeah. Where do they go from here? What's the assessment?
Okay, so this happened 10 minutes before the TV show started, right? And I actually said on the air, sometimes the reacting to breaking news are my favorite shows when I look back on them. And sometimes they're the most annoying shows because I'm like, gosh darn it. I just didn't have that piece of information. You know what I mean? And so everything that we said ends up becoming irrelevant a few hours later. I think the Tibbs show might end up falling into the former category, my favorite shows. And here's why. So my snap reaction to the Tibbs firing was, there's really only 3 ways to view it. Like, there's only 3, I guess, rationales to the firing. Rationale 1 was, so let me back up. The reason I'm framing it like this is because everyone is framing it the way you did, DeMonte, which is it was the best season in 25 years. You made your first conference finals in 25 years. You were 2 games away from the NBA finals. You were favored to go to the finals, and you fired your coach. So logically speaking, that would mean one of 2 things is true. Either A, at the end of the regular season, they had determined we're moving on from Tom Thibodeau. Anything short of a championship or making the finals, we're firing him. That's where they were, kind of like the Nuggets were with Michael Malone, but the Nuggets just did it beforehand, and they weren't going to let this playoff run dissuade them. That's kind of option A. Option B, if that's not the case, if at the end of the regular season his job was safe, then that would mean option B, which is somehow this playoff run hurt Tibbs in the front office or ownership's eyes, right? If he was safe at the end of the regular season, that they looked at it and they were like, you know what? DeMonte was right. That victory over the Celtics was a fluke. Shouldn't have happened. Down 15 in every game. We're actually not that good. You know what I mean? Like, we were trailing Detroit a bunch. We got lucky against Boston. And so, like, those are, in theory, the only 2 viable paths. And this is why I feel like Tuesday's TV show is going to age well. I said that. And then I said, there is, however, a third path. A third rationale, I should say. Which is, they are firing Tom Thibodeau because there is a player they are trying to acquire that they think they will be more likely to acquire if they fire Tom Thibodeau. And what I was implying without really saying is, was it possible that someone from Giannis's camp said, hey, you know, if person X was your coach, maybe not only, you know, would it push Giannis closer to asking for a trade, but maybe he would ask for a trade to the Knicks specifically. So I just kind of threw that out there as a possibility. I don't think you would have to fire Tibbs in order to give yourself a better chance to get Kevin Durant. Giannis is the other big name out there. So I just threw that out there on Tuesday. And then, DeMonte, did you see the kind of weird report about one of the coaches the Knicks might want to go after? Because I did. It was a coach who currently has a job, and it was Jason Kidd. And if people remember, Jason Kidd coached Giannis in Milwaukee. And when Jason Kidd was fired, Giannis, the reporting was he called Jason Kidd and said, can I fix it? Should I call ownership and say unfire you? I'm paraphrasing. So again, I'm literally, I could not be further away from reporting anything here. I have been gambling nonstop for the last 36 hours. I've not been working the phones. I've been playing poker. I'm simply saying the firing Tibbs, it was odd enough that a little alarm bells went off. And then because the reporting, DeMonte, was there were 2 coaches who currently have jobs the Knicks were interested in. It was Jason Kidd and Ime Udoka. And I'm like, okay, well, Ime Udoka is not going to be available. And so it felt to me, and again, maybe I'm wrong. Like, Udoka was included in that. Like, hey, yeah, there's a lot of, established coaches that, we might like.
But it's really that one name. It's just
that it was really about. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this morning on the walk over from Aria, where I'm staying, to Horseshoe, where the World Series of Poker is, I was listening to Brian Windhorst's show, The Hoop Collective. And anybody, by the way, who tweeting me or asking me or whatever about LeBron once again going at Windy, what I would like to say about that is it makes me very sad, and I wish he wouldn't do it. And I appreciate you respecting my privacy at this time. I do not like it. But I was listening to Brian Windhorst on his great podcast, with Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon. Tim McMahon, who covers all the Texas teams for ESPN, and the Jason Kidd thing came up, and Tim McMahon who just wrote a book on Luka, who's very close to the Mavs, when the Jason Kidd thing came up, Tim McMahon did not say, oh, no chance. There's no way the Mavs are letting him leave. That didn't happen. So
Jason Kidd might want to leave Dallas. I don't think that's
absolutely.
A situation. Yeah, he doesn't want to be there.
I mean, listen, I know they have Cooper Flag coming, but it's still kind of a toxic situation. And here's the other thing. Even if, it wasn't a toxic situation, so much easier to win in the East right now. Right? Now, I'm going to add one other piece of this. Because obviously Jim Dolan was involved. To some level, I don't know how much of a level, but to some level, okay? So I'm gonna build a long bridge to get to this point. I did an interview a couple weeks ago, and that silly face of the network thing came up again when the guy asked me about FS1 and me. And I answered what I've always answered, which is for the last almost decade, Colin Cowherd has been and for every single day the face of FS1, and he will be until he stops broadcasting for us. And people think that's just, me, kind of paying tribute to a guy who's my professional idol and friend and, all that. And some of that's true, whatever. But it's not like an emeritus title. He's also, as the kids on Twitter would say, still throwing 98 on the black whenever he wants. Because Cowherd had the best Jim Dolan take ever. And he just said it as an aside a few years ago. And it's so perfect that I'm here in Vegas when we're talking about this. Which is, Cowherd said, do you know why the Knicks all of a sudden got good? Good management, good coaching. They were a functional adult franchise. And he said it was because Jim Dolan was building the Sphere in Las Vegas and was distracted. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly right. Jim Dolan's favorite toy forever, ever since he inherited Cablevision and MSG from his dad, has been the Knicks. But then his company was building the Sphere in Vegas, and that was his new toy. And so he had to leave the Knicks alone. And all right, Leon Rose and Worldwide West, you guys handle it. You know what I mean? And,
that's an awesome take. That's really funny.
It's the greatest take.
So funny.
It's why Colin's the greatest to ever do it. Because nobody else's brain works that way. But the moment he said it, I'm like, God damn it, you're 100% right.
Sense.
It makes perfect sense. It's exactly what happened. But here's my contribution to that take. Guess what, DeMonze? The Sphere is built, and it's up and running, and it's self-sustaining. And the Knicks just had this magical playoff run. And so guess what? This is like a Toy Story Buzz Aldrin Woody situation. That toy that you threw in the back of the closet because the other one was taking up your attention. It's like,
Buzz
oh, wait.
Lightyear, by the way. But
what did I say?
So you're
what did I say?
Buzz Aldridge or something like that? I don't even know.
Buzz Aldrin. That's an actual. He's the third man to walk on the moon, or second man to walk on the moon. I'm sorry, Buzz Lightyear and Woody. No, but then all of a sudden the Knicks, the sphere's up and running. The Knicks are fun now. Chalamet's there. They're making runs. Jim Dolan's like, I'm back, baby.
So they're gonna suck next year?
No, I'm not saying they're gonna suck. What I'm saying is, all of a sudden they're making drastic moves again.
Right.
He's like, what if we fire the coach? What if we try to poach Jason Kidd? What if we do this? So it's just, and with all that said, I don't necessarily think this is the wrong move. Here's though, I want to bounce this off you, pal.
Okay. Because
people were disappointed with the Knicks. Like, I'll give the fair criticisms of Tibbs in a second, but here's one of the things. Like, the Knicks were bad defensively in these playoffs for large portions of it. Here is what I would be worried about and the risk they would run. They are running. Is it because Tibbs' calling card his whole career has been great defense, right?
Right.
Is it possible that the defense the Knicks had this year, while maybe disappointing to some, was actually the best defense you can realistically have if Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are your two best players? You know what I mean? Like, were they actually, because of Tibbs, better defensively than they should have been, but because of those two guys' defensive limitations, was it still not good enough? Pardon me. Like, that would be the concern that I think is potentially a real concern, right?
Right, that makes sense. He was just working with what he had. I mean, you obviously have no choice but to play Cat and Brunson. What are you going to do?
Right. So here's what I think is a fair criticism of Tibbs, and also a reminder for everybody. And this applies mostly to basketball coaches, but you can find a way to make it apply to any walk of life. It's always risky to make it clear to your boss that you don't think your boss has done a great job. And here's what I mean. Tibbs' stance of, and he bent on it a bit at the very end in the playoffs, but it was probably too late. Stance of, I have to play these 5 guys 40 plus minutes because I don't have enough other good players, is always risky when the person who picked the players can fire you. Like, but it wasn't intentional, but whenever a coach, this happened, this is why Calvin Booth was mad at Michael Malone, and then the owner there was like, you're both fired. But it was, Michael Malone was like, no, Russ has to play 40 plus minutes because the young players stink. And the Calvin Booth was like, I picked those young players. I think they're quite good. And so if you're Leon Rose and Tibbs is like, sorry, Mikal Bridges has to play 45 minutes a game because I can't play Landry Shamet or DeLon Wright. Leon Rose is like, I don't know. I thought those guys were good enough to bring in here. That's always a bit of a risk. Now, I also think they did not get enough out of Mikal Bridges this year, and you can put some of that on Tibbs. And I also do think this. There is, and we talked about this, so we don't have to spend too much more time on it. There is a real benefit or a real risk to not experimenting with lineups in the regular season is you don't get the real-time reps to be like, oh, shit. DeLon Wright plus Deuce McBride, Cat, OG, and Mikal Bridges, that lineup can cook. Like the different lineup combinations or whatever. Oklahoma City, now they won 68 games, but they are the standard. Oklahoma City played every lineup combination imaginable through the regular season, and now they go into the playoffs with real data on all of it. So I know we have Tibbs follow-ups, but so let's get to them. But there's my big picture Tibbs take. And I apologize to Adam Silver, who just did a great interview on Breakfast Ball, and Thunder and Pacers fans, because they're like day one of the finals, and you're talking about a fired coach. In my defense, we did a lot of finals preview stuff on Tuesday, because the final, like, that is a weird thing about the NBA playoffs. It's just every night, eyes bleeding from watching so much basketball, and then there's like a week where we're just chilling, and so. But all right, what are the Tibbs follow-ups? Go ahead.
Giannis, low-key, always shaking up the NBA, man.
Well, again, this is just a theory by me. I'm not reporting it. I don't.
100%.
It's not even close to 100%. It's just an idea. It's just an idea. But go ahead.
So we'll do a game of likely, maybe, what if, to see who will be the next head coach at New York. So it's likely that blank will get the job, but maybe blank gets the job. And what if this person gets the job? So likely.
Okay, so Brew kept saying, I want to make sure I get this right. Gosh darn it. It wasn't, Johnny Bryant. Brew kept saying Johnny Bryant. And Brew is Brew said he didn't make any calls. He didn't know anything on it. It was just his speculation. But then right after the show, Johnny Bryant was the Vegas favorite for it. Now, it's also true. This is one of the rare times where, like, first things first might have kind of helped set the line in Vegas, because this thing broke at 2:50. Brew was on the air at 3:02 talking Johnny Bryant. And then the sports books, like, what are they, I think they're probably, what are people saying, whatever it was. And so I don't know if that was kind of the tail wagging the dog. The odd thing to me about Johnny Bryant, and I said this to Brew, was right now he's the Cavs associate head coach. He was an assistant under Tibbs. So do they fire Tibbs to bring in Johnny? I don't know. But Brew, so I think likely it's Johnny Bryant. And the other piece of this is the Knicks fired Tibbs the day Johnny Bryant was named a finalist for the Suns job. He then didn't get the Suns job. Maybe it's Jason Kidd. And then the what if is this, DeMonte, because this is the other piece of it I haven't talked about. What if it's Rick Brunson? Because if it's not, that's an awkward piece of this, which is when they're interviewing head coaches, do they say, by the way, one other thing, you can pick your whole staff except for one spot. Rick Brunson's got, like, are they firing Rick Brunson? That would seem tricky. Like, you know what, like, honestly, like, what does it mean? Is he gunning for the
head coach job?
No, not, I don't think so at all. My point is, no. I don't think he is at all. My point is that usually a new coach brings in their own staff.
Right.
But when one of the coaches on your staff is the dad of the best player on your team, like, that's that's just kind of a tricky thing. I think the Jason Kidd thing, though, I think there's a little fire to that smoke. All right, before we get to our official finals preview, DraftKings wants to remind you the NBA Finals are here, and this is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a finals to remember. One team will be crowned champ, and the other will be lost to history. Again, I think that's a little harsh of a line, but listen, it is what it is. Who do you have winning it all? Put your hoops expertise to the test all season long. DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Who's going to carry their team to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, maybe over 50. We talked about it. Nobody's dropped 50 in a finals game since the Game 6 clincher by Giannis. Giannis all over today's show. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Lock in your bets. Finish the season as a winner. Something special For first-timers, new DraftKings customers, bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code WRIGHT, WRIGHT. That's code WRIGHT for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, DeMonte, let's get to, kind of part 2 of our NBA Finals preview. We did a big part 1 on Tuesday. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, so game 1 of the finals is tonight. OKC is minus 9.5. What are your thoughts? How do you see this game going?
So there's been, at these card games, obviously particularly the cash games I've been playing, all these guys are somewhere between degenerate to semi-pro sports bettors. Like they're just all, I shouldn't say all, but most are just betting sports all day. And so the number one thing people are wanting to talk to me about is, what do I like? What's the finals? Whatever it is. And so, I've told everyone, bet of the year, OKC minus a game and a half. Again, I guess we can get more to the bet stuff in a second. I don't want to step on it. But somebody yesterday who was it that made this case to me? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember who it was. One of the guys I was playing with made the case essentially that Indiana, if you were going to construct a team to give OKC problems, it would look a lot like Indiana, where their best player is not the overpowering wing, that the scoring wing that the Thunder have all these guys to throw at, right? In Dort and Caruso and Wallace and all that. That they play such a fast pace, so you can't set the defense. That they play kind of different. All of those things I thought were good points. The point that I made back to him was I think Indiana is built and stylistically built like a team and plays a style of a team that could give OKC some real trouble. I just think they need a little more talented roster. So if right now, DeMonte, you tell me if you think this is disrespectful. I think the Pacers have, on a school grading scale, A+, A minus. I think the Pacers' overall talent is about a B level. And I think their coaching and style of play elevates them up to an A- A team. Okay. But I think they have the overall talent of the 9th best team in the NBA, the 8th best team in the NBA. But because of their coaching and their style, they play like they are the 4th or 5th best team in the NBA. And you might be like, they're in the finals. Yeah, but the conferences to me are stacked a little differently. So you could make the finals still be the 4th or 5th best team. So my point is this. If instead of having B talent overall, they were like an A- talent with this coaching and this style, that could be maybe enough to throw a real scare into Oklahoma City. I just don't think they have the horses. And I'll be honest. I can't
imagine the Pacers winning this series.
Well, no, not only that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the Pacers winning this series. I can't imagine it going 7 games. But I almost said, I hope I'm wrong. But I have placed a sizable wager on this. So I no longer hope I'm wrong. I now hope I'm very correct.
Ridiculous.
It just is the truth. I picked OKC to beat Minnesota. I was truly rooting for Minnesota because I like Ant, and since I never bet OKC, that was like a pure, honest rooting that I was doing.
Yeah.
This is, if not for the bet, I probably would be rooting for the Pacers, but I can't. I just can't. All right, before we get to the bets, ask the follow-ups here, if you will.
Yeah, so what are you personally most excited about this series? I mean, it sounds like maybe cashing in on your bet.
No. The actual there's two things I'm most excited about. I want to see if Shai can elevate in my eyes and in the eyes of the country. Because, and I don't think this is unfair. I don't think this is disrespectful. I think this is just how it works. I think Shai, so Shai is right now, pardon me, if they win the championship, DeMonze, it's the most points per game in the regular season a player has averaged that won the championship ever. It will beat Michael Jordan's record. Right now, the record for that is Michael Jordan, 32.6. Second place on that is Kareem, 31.7. Those are the two highest single season point averages that you then won the championship. And you might be like, no, that can't be right. No, the year Kareem averaged 35, they didn't win the title. The year Michael averaged 37, they didn't win the title. The year Michael averaged 33, they didn't win the title. The year Kobe averaged 35 or 31 or even 30, they didn't win the title. Obviously, Harden never won the title. The Durant never averaged more than this. So like that would LeBron, his highest scoring year, which was like year 3 or 4 in Cleveland. They obviously didn't win the title. So that's a record that has stood for 32 years that Jordan has had. And that's kind of anecdotal and just a small little piece. But the point I'm making is I still think there's a lot of people that feel like Shai is on the Anthony Edwards Tatum tier and not the Joker Giannis tier. And when I say a lot of people, like I've been one of them, right? A great finals performance and a championship has to elevate him. And you might say, well, it didn't for Tatum. Well, Tatum didn't. That's why I said Tatum had a good finals. But Tatum also wasn't the league MVP that year. So that I'm excited to see. The other thing I'm most excited to see is how Haliburton tries to deal with this OKC defense. And I'll add another kind of fact piece to it. OKC, I wonder if they're going to be a little caught off guard in that. So like Dort's utility is, hey, who's your big, powerful wing who scores, can score 30? I'm going to be just as strong as him, even though I'm undersized, and get into him, right? Caruso can guard, I'm going to be as strong as anybody. Haliburton's never trying to overpower anyone. And so, will Haliburton's kind of style be a little difficult for them to adjust to? I don't think so, but I'm excited to watch that. All right, what's next?
What do you think the rest of the league can learn from these two teams, making it to the finals? Team basketball. Emphasis, I feel like, from these two teams.
I think the quick answer is, DeMonze, that in today's era of the NBA, you should not simply try to, go after the 3 superstar, and then like you don't want a team that is too top heavy, and because of that, you don't have enough depth. I do think that is a real learn. I also think that how do I phrase this right? I think the skill level DeMonze has gotten so high. There was a time in the NBA, not that long ago, where can you get me a bucket was the single most valuable thing. And that still is the most valuable thing for the superstar. You know what I mean? Even when the whole defense is built to stop you, can you get me a bucket? Right? But now for the role players, I think the can you get me a bucket being the most important thing has been replaced by can you defend in big, like, let me rephrase it. Are you a good enough defender to where the other team doesn't see you out on the court and say, we're going to target him every time until he's off the court? And I think what the Pacers and the Thunder have is a bunch of different 5-man lineups they like, where nobody out there is get him in a pick and roll every single time. And I think that because, it's not true that everyone, but more guys in the modern NBA can shoot than ever before, DeMonze. More guys, are skilled than ever before. So you can find guys that can come off the bench and bury a 3. Like you can, like Cam Payne, that guy's there's a million of those guys. But Cam Payne couldn't play in these playoffs later for the Knicks because he would just be relentlessly targeted defensively. And they ended up going to DeLon Wright, who he's not a great example because he couldn't really hit a shot. But because can we put a 5-man lineup out there? And this wasn't my theory, but I loved it, that we have entered the weak link era. And I don't know if it's forever, but it's just, or even if it's long term, but with it where it is, as long as your best player is good enough to get you in the club, to get in the room, that you cross that barrier of entry, then it becomes, all right, who's your worst guy that you're going to play real minutes for? And is he, a competent, good enough two-way player? So that's kind of what I would take away from it. Now we can do a little bit on these finals bets if you'd like.
So we talked last show about your bet of the year. You wanted OKC minus 1.5 at minus
1.5 games. Well, listen, it was minus 265. There was minus 275. It's now minus 290. I'm not saying that I moved that line, but I'm actually here to tell you I definitely moved that line. You might be like,
you think you did?
I'm certain I did. And I don't even necessarily mean from Tuesday's pod and the TV show. I think that had something to do with it. But I think what had more to do with it is me talking about it so much amongst some of the biggest sports bettors in the world the last 36 hours. And I think people have been walking up to the window and basically saying, give me the Nick Wright special. And so, I think this thing will be minus 300 by the time the series starts.
All right.
But go ahead.
So we also discussed an exact series bet. You had OKC game 1, OKC game 2, Indy game 3, OKC game 4, Indy game 5, OKC game 6. That's at plus 3,500.
That's 35 to 1.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Here's the thing on that. I think I'm making that bet just a little. It's 35 to 1, so just a just a little bit, with the intention, DeMonze, that I might, that would be a hard one to hedge. But it's the first 4 games. I feel that it's game 5 in that's tricky.
Yeah, you have been talking a lot about like hedge potential, and I can't hedge here, can't hedge there. Aren't you like the non-hedging guy?
Yeah, that is correct. I absolutely am the non-hedging guy, and I've said this before. And the producers, I don't even think that's a question from DeMonze. I think that was planted by the producers trying to catch me in something. The caveat to I don't hedge is unless I make a bet with the intention of hedging, like I'm betting to hedge it. But here's the point I'm making. I think probably the smarter way to make that bet and not really instead of hedging or whatever is to take, I think, OKC game 1, OKC game 2, Indy game 3, OKC game 4 is how those first 4 games are going. It's the game 5 that's the tipping point game, but I don't see, I think OKC is winning the first 2, and then when a team's up 2-0 and the other team goes home, and we've seen it from OKC already this playoffs, they relax a bit, and then OKC takes back control of the series. I will say one other thing. As long as, if you just wanted to bet OKC for the series, I do think just betting Shai to win finals MVP is smarter. And you might say, like, well, what if Shai gets hurt? If Shai gets hurt, they're not winning the series anyway, probably. So, like, the bet, you know what I mean? The bet's dead. And I do think that, you are, like, the OKC is like minus 700 and Shai's minus 600. Again, those are significant. Obviously, you're laying a ton of juice there, but I do think that would be the better way to play it. All right, let's talk a little. Let's quickly get through some of these other things.
So the Suns hired former Cleveland assistant Jordan Ott as their new head coach, and they also lowered the asking price for Kevin Durant. So what's going on? So
here's what I read this morning that let me find this exact story, and I want to make sure that I'm not getting bad aggregation. Okay, no, this is from PHNX Suns, which you might be like, what the hell is that? There's a company that started like 4 different cities. It's called All City, and they basically do media for sports teams in Denver, Philly, Chicago, and and Phoenix, obviously. And they do a good job. Our buddy Carm DeMonze works for the Chicago one, CHGO. So it's CHGO in Chicago, DNVR in Denver, PHLY in Philly, and PHNX in Phoenix. Like, you guys get it, how they're doing it. So here is what Gerald Bourget is, I assume how you pronounce this. Bourguet. Bourget is how it's spelled, Bourget. But Bourget, I don't know. In the story about Jordan Ott, this is what he writes. And this is because keep in mind, he's a Michigan State alum. Matt Ishbia, their new owner, was a Michigan State walk-on. And I am going to read you directly from pieces of his article. As a Michigan State alum, there will undoubtedly be pressure on this first-year head coach to prove that the Suns' exhaustive interview process was more than just an inevitability. Similar cries of Sparty favoritism rang out after owner Matt Ishbia hired Brian Gregory, a former Michigan State assistant with limited NBA front office experience, as the Suns' new GM. That will only grow louder now that Phoenix has hired Ott, who graduated from Michigan State and served as video coordinator under Izzo from 2008 to 13. Let me go on further from here. This is the part that I Not for nothing, Devin Booker also approved of the hire. ESPN Shams Charania reported that Booker was involved in the final stages of the Suns interview process and stamped Ott as his top choice, while another source confirmed that to PHNX Sports that Booker loved him. Having love and support of the face of the franchise matters. That's not the part of this that I am most interested in. Let me find. Okay, here we go. According to another source, Ishbia emailed the Suns basketball operations team internally on Wednesday, taking accountability for not doing enough to establish a culture and identity in Phoenix. The Suns owner stated that, quote, or that he tried, quote, running the typical NBA owner playbook of hiring experts, signing checks, and getting out of the way, but no one was happy with that outcome. In other words, Matt Ishbia is like, you know what this situation needs? More Matt Ishbia. That's a problem, boys. And so Matt Ishbia has surveyed the Phoenix Suns, who were fucking fine. They had made the finals. They had the best record in the league the next year. He bought the team. It's been nothing but disaster. And he has surveyed it. And he's like, you know what?
Gotta make more moves.
After some real soul searching, you know what this organization needs? More of this guy. And so, I mean, I'm just here to tell you, I feel really bad for Suns fans. I mean, you're going to get 60 cents on the dollar for Durant unless, the Towns thing would be probably 125 cents on the dollar, but that's probably not happening. And I just don't.
What do you think is a worse fan situation right now between being a Suns fan or a Mavericks fan?
Oh, well, they're so different. If you're a Mavs fan and you could just Men in Black Neuralizer, again, was Men in Black a 30-year-old movie? If people don't know Men in Black, they had these little, they looked like pens, little lights called a neuralizer, I think, where if they flashed it at you, they could erase, whatever they wanted from your memory. Like the last 5 minutes, the last year, whatever it is. That was, for some reason, I reference the Men in Black Neuralizer thing all the time. And now I'm realizing I'm an old man and I don't know that everyone's seen the movie.
A lot of people gotta see Men in Black, but yeah.
I would think so, but here's the thing, DeMonte. You're kind of an old man too.
Oh.
Like, I mean, as you said the other day, you're pushing 30. Like we got kids out here that haven't. There are people watching the podcast that haven't walked inside a movie. Like, you know what I mean? If it's not on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, they're like, that's whack. Will Smith, get out. All they know of Will Smith is that he got punched in the face at the Oscars. Or no, I'm sorry. He did the slapping. My apologies. All right, but that's not the point. Back to the topic. If you were a Mavs fan and you could get Men in Black Neuralizered into forgetting that Luka was ever on your team, it's kind of fun and exciting. It's like, oh, we got this generational prospect coming up. Anthony Davis is good. Kyrie's coming back. Like, maybe, who knows? The problem is the just like hanging regret at all times that you used to have Luka Doncic and this madman got rid of him. I would never be able to get over that, but there's still good basketball to come. The Suns are objectively screwed for the next 5 to 7 years. And there's just no way around it. And so I just think it's the worst situation imaginable. And I don't see, and Matt Ishbia looking at it and being like, I'll fix this with more of me, is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. All right, let's talk USA versus the world.
Yeah, so Adam Silver confirmed, I think this was on Breakfast Bowl actually, that the next Olympics, The next Olympics or the next All-Star game, will be Team World versus Team USA. How do we feel about this? Do you think this will change or fix the lackluster All-Star games?
So, to be fair, he said some form of U.S. against the world. So, here's the only way I think you could do it. I think. Because as people have pointed out, you're not going to have 12 and 12. I think the way you have I'll just be honest. I don't know that this is going to work because I think this is the only way you can do it. I think you have to pick your 24 All-Stars. And what you're going to end up with is, 8 international and 16 American. And then you're going to have to figure out which 4 Americans are going to have to play on the international team, and that's going to be weird. I think that's how it's going to work.
It's like, where are your roots at? Let's
but
go back into your ancestors type of deal.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know what they're. I don't. So I like the idea. The problem is the numbers on it. I do think that. Here's the other thing. All of our MVPs now are international guys, but it's also, it skews to not the best roster build. And here's what I mean. It's Shai, Luka, and then a bunch of bigs. Joker, Giannis, Embiid, and if Embiid were to get back to form,
Rudy,
Sabonis, Rudy, you know what I mean? Like, so you don't have. Thank goodness Shai's Canadian, and Luka obviously is Slovenian, but it's so I don't really. Wilds is right that. It used to work. It can work again. It's just on the players to play defense. And Wilds is also right that the best plays and highlights anyone's ever seen all have something in common. An attempt at awesome defense. And that's what makes the highlight great. And they've just kind of lost their way on it a bit. I do want to do quickly one NFL story before we go, and then we can talk a little World Series of Poker stuff at the end. But I do want to talk this CJ Stroud story quickly.
Yeah, so CJ Stroud hasn't thrown a pass at OTAs. It seems like he's got a shoulder injury thing going on. D'Amico Ryans is reporting that he's not worried at all, but it also seems like it could be possible that he had a surgery that they're trying not to highlight or something like that. Is there a problem in Houston? Take the Jags to win the division. I'm sorry. It's the perfect time.
Yeah?
It's plus 300 right now. You should take the Jags.
You're in?
100%. I've been on that for like the last 2.5 months. 100%. Yeah. You only got to worry about the Texans. This guy's shoulders hurt right now. Take the Jags. And for some reason, the odds went up since that information came out.
Well, I think the odds went up. Actually, it was less about that and more maybe there was a little Titan smoke because Cam Ward. But that's why I wanted to talk about this story. Wow, you all right, buddy?
I'm good. Let's do it.
That's why I wanted to talk about this story. Was I do think the Jags to win the division is a good bet. Shoulder soreness, long lingering shoulder soreness for quarterbacks and pitchers concerns the hell out of me. And CJ, I don't like it is odd enough that it has raised an alarm. You then add to it, DeMonze, that the offensive line was brutal last year. They traded away Tunsil. They have, Diggs isn't there, which is fine. Tank Dell's not going to be there all year. I think there's so yes, you got there before I did. I think that the Jags to win the division, I know this is a shock to no one, is my takeaway on this. And I think Houston's pass defense last year by the end of the year was the best in the league. And D'Amico's excellent, and that should be good enough to, keep them more than relevant, but, in the mix. But the Jags, prove it year for Trevor, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas, Liam Cohen. I like all of it. All right. So World Series of Poker. We're here. We're at the Horseshoe. The events are, this is one of the, so if you guys look behind me, this is, and I'm going to move out of the camera view for a minute. So you can see, that's one of the stages. This is there's 100 tables set up in here. There are DeMonze, 3 other far bigger, convention halls where these games are being played. So it's just thousands and thousands of players. And if people are interested, today, my plan is, let me see when it starts. Let's see let's see what's on the docket for today. Because I expected to still be, today is the final table for the 10K Dealer's Choice, which is the tournament I was in yesterday morning that I'm no longer in. So, because I got knocked out, but that happens. So the tournaments that get rolling today that I am interested in is the $1,500 Badoogie, which starts, when does that start? So that starts at 2 p.m., right? Yeah, 2 p.m. The other one that is a possibility, let me look and see, is, there's a 25K No Limit Hold'em that I'm not playing in and is going to be one of the hardest tournaments of the summer. I'm not playing that. There is also, today is okay. No, so it's just the $1,500 Badoogie that is today. And then over the weekend is the 10K 7-card stud. So it's just one tournament today, which means I need to play well in it or else I'm going to have nothing to do. So that's my plan for today. Got to lock in, man. I got to lock in. Yesterday, now I've been playing very well in the post-tournament cash games, but it's not if people care, it's not why I'm there. It's exactly right. I'm here to final table a World Series of Poker event and have a shot at a bracelet. It's the only reason I'm here. I need to play better. That's why I'm here to tell you. Now, did I play great yesterday? Of course. Did I get terribly, terribly unlucky in the pot limit Omaha 8 or better? Yeah. At one point, DeMonze, out of the 908 players in the tournament, was I 7th in chips? I was. I have a screenshot to prove it. I do. Shortly after that, did I play a pot that would have put me 2nd in chips, where I just needed to fade 6 cards and I would have had the 2nd most chips out of this nearly 1,000-person field? I did. But I didn't fade those 6 cards. And I'll be honest, I didn't deal with that beat the way I probably should have. And I kind of tilted off from there. It's part of the experience. I just got to stay locked in. So I want to thank, by the way, all the great people at the World Series of Poker for giving me this room. I don't know if you guys can see, but the What's Right logos are set up in there, which is so incredibly cool to me. And people might be like, why didn't, where were the Instagram updates yesterday? I was too devastated by the beat to update anybody. But that's, you know what? We're going to lock in. We're going to do great in the Badoogie.
To kind of clear your mind of yesterday's loss so you can go in today with...
Oh, the Men in Black Neuralizer. Wow, what a quick Photoshop. You look fine. Not the greatest picture of me I've ever seen, I got to tell you, but you look great.
Angle you're turning.
This is why people should subscribe on YouTube. This is why they should, because if you're listening on a podcast, you don't get this. But also, by the way, subscribe on podcasts. All right, listen, this was a lot of work for a lot of people. So a huge thanks to Maury Eskandani, Brent Hanks, Ty Stewart, everyone involved with Poker Go and with the World Series of Poker for helping me get this set up. Obvious huge thanks to everyone at The Volume and Blue Duck for, getting this tech stuff set up, and DraftKings, as always, for all the support. If there is a chance we do a brief semi-emergency pod sometime, but, over the weekend in relation to game 1 of the finals. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Demonte, great job. Like, rate, subscribe, review, and send me good poker vibes, because the $1,500 Badoogie bracelet is going to look great on this wrist right here. See you guys soon. What's right?